Hey guys, Liquid here, and welcome to something of a first impressions video slash review of Spider-Man Homecoming. After all these years, I've finally watched it. At the time, I just was not really keeping up with, and I still really am not keeping up with all the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. It just felt like this monolith where if you wanted to watch something, you would have to watch a gajillion other things. And plus, at that time when it came out, I was sort of I was kind of going ham, as they say, going very hard, studying Japanese, and I was kind of in the mindset of just ignoring a lot of Western media that came out. But today I finally can say I've watched Spider-Man Homecoming after all these years, which I did actually watch. I did a couple years back. I did see No Way Home in theaters because just of all the hype that was around that movie, and because of all the talk about how it would connect into the Raimi trilogy and whatnot. Other than that, though, honestly, I really have not seen that much in the MCU. I actually did recently watch Guardians of the Galaxy, which was nice, and I saw the first Avengers. I saw Ant-Man. I've seen maybe some scattered stuff, but I kind of went into this I just said screw it and just went into it. And so let's talk about my thoughts, shall we? So, for the most part, I would say, I enjoyed it. I thought this was a good movie. People who know me might know that, I very rarely do I come away from, a movie just hating it or whatever, but, I did enjoy it. But I do have some complaints. I do have some critiques, if you will. But first off, I will say, honestly, my favorite part of the movie, probably, I'm not really sure if this is a common opinion, but I really, really liked the character of Ned, Peter's friend in the movie. I just found him very, I guess, relatable. He's kind of served as a nice little audience surrogate, I guess you would say. And also, I don't know, it was just kind of cool to see Peter actually, having a friend to kind of hang out with. We didn't really get that much of that in, like, the Raimi movies. Like, I honestly can't really remember Harry, and I know Harry was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I can't really remember what their relationship was at all, honestly. But, like, in the Raimi movies, Peter and Harry kind of seem like, they both kind of come from backgrounds that lead them to be kind of isolated from everyone else, so they kind of bond. They kind of take solace in each other's presence because they both share a similar loneliness almost. But, like, here, you actually get to see, Ned and Peter, building Legos together and just kind of broing out, which was nice. I did also just enjoy, the character, Tom Holland's Peter Parker. I thought he was a good Peter Parker. Also, speaking, like, while we're on the characters still, I did enjoy Michael Keaton as the Vulture. I'd say I was kind of indifferent on the actual Vulture suit, but I thought Michael Keaton did a good job of capturing the whole villain aspect and whatnot. And also, while we're on the villains, the guy, I guess he's technically Shocker. The guy that plays Shocker, I remember thinking at first glance, I at first thought he was Tom Hardy, but I guess he's and let me just quickly look up his name. Logan Marshall Green. Looks a lot like Tom Hardy, but I thought he was pretty cool. And I guess also Mac Gargan, who's kind of known for being the Scorpion, he also appears, but I guess he's kind of just in name only, like he doesn't really do any Scorpion stuff, and as far as I can tell, he still hasn't in the whole series, in the whole MCU, if you will. And I guess now that we're talking about the MCU, I guess to just kind of get into the negatives, I guess, my sort of complaints, my sort of critiques of the movie. I do, like I said, like as someone who hasn't really kept up with the MCU, like it is kind of just weird whenever references to the MCU come up, like how everything kind of connects back to Stark. I was kind of like this with the Amazing Spider-Man as well. Like I always thought it was kind of weird how everything kind of connects back to Oscorp. Here everything's kind of all connected back to Stark and whatnot. And I think most of my complaints, most of my critiques would be solved if they had just given Tom Holland, one standalone movie, the kind of, one standalone Spider-Man movie, and then like you could have like a post-credit scene where Iron Man or Nick Fury shows up and is all like, "We're here to tell you about the Avengers" or whatever. But like I think like, a lot of my critiques just kind of come from there's just not really there's feeling like this is like it's like that Spider-Man is constant, like, and I am somewhat aware that this is like a theme, I guess, that is continued throughout the series. But it does feel like Spider-Man isn't really a full-fledged hero on his own, but was more just kind of like a sidekick to Tony Stark, or kind of like living in like Stark's shadow, which apparently is covered like as a theme of the later movies, or like maybe the second movie or whatever. The thing is, I enjoy stuff like, the animated series and, the old PlayStation 1 games, so I'm not against the idea of, like cameos and whatnot of other characters, per se, but like, really, like references to like other superheroes existing in the world. But I guess like, I feel like at least for this first movie, it would have been better if like that type of thing had kind of just been left towards the end, you know what I mean? And then of course, after that, like in the second movie, you can go crazy with all the MCU stuff and whatnot. But I think like just one nice standalone movie to kind of just establish this character, this Peter Parker and whatnot, would have been very nice. Long before I had seen this movie, I had seen tons of memes of like where it's the little Cheems dog, rest in peace, looking all sad and being all like, "Mr. Stark, my tummy hurts," which it never really got that bad, but like I do kind of see where they're coming from. But in terms of other characters, I'd say in terms of MJ, I thought she was nice. I thought it was kind of from what I'm trying to, like, I kind of don't really remember how she was in No Way Home, but like I don't really seem to remember her being all sort of like gothic, like she kind of is here. Like she's kind of like this kind of edgy, high school girl. Where I don't really seem to remember her being like that in No Way Home, but I could just be forgetting a bit. And plus, maybe it's just like in No Way Home, it's kind of like she sort of let her guard, let the facade down a little bit or something. I do think it's kind of weird that, like, I guess, like, so in this universe, she's Michelle Jones Watson, and it's like I'm just kind of like, if you're gonna still call her MJ, like, why not just have her be Mary Jane, or just make her a completely different character? Like, I am a bit weird why they went in this direction with her. I'm a bit confused why they went this direction with her. And Flash Thompson, I thought he was kind of interesting. I guess like I thought it was interesting how, like, instead of just being like the typical jock bully or whatever, here is kind of on the, if I understand correctly, like he's actually on the academic team or whatever with Peter, which is kind of cool. Like a cool little twist on things, I guess. I did honestly quite enjoy the twist that you know, the Vulture is Liz's dad. You know, I am kind of aware of a lot of general MCU stuff, you know, including, you know, certain characters like to snap their fingers and stuff, but that was honestly something that I did not know about. And so like when that happened, I think I might have audibly just like kind of said, "Bruh," like that was pretty crazy, and you know, led to some interesting moments. Part of me does kind of wish they just kind of gone with something closer to the you know, the comic Vulture suit, you know, with the actual, you know, the green feathers and whatnot. But I guess like it's kind of what they did with the Vulture is kind of similar to like what they did with Green Goblin in the Raimi movies. So I'll give it a pass. You know, I'm going to be, you know, making a lot of comparisons to the Raimi trilogy, which that's just kind of just because I'm small brain and I just can't help but do it. You know, I understand, you know, they're two different products with two different goals and whatnot, but you know, I will just make comparisons because, you know, that's how that's easy. It's easy to do, you know, rather than, you know, judge things on their own merits, like a rational person or whatever. But one thing that did kind of catch my eye, catch my ear, I found that the dialogue seemed a little bit. This might just be kind of a general MCU trend, but it felt like the dialogue was a little bit more kind of edgy / racy, I guess, almost like, you know, Flash calling Peter Penis Parker, or MJ giving Peter the bird, or Ned's excuse to the school lady, basically just saying, I was watching porn. You know, I feel like those things would not have happened at all. Like those things would have been completely against like the atmosphere of like the Raimi trilogy, which, you know, again, it's not a bad thing, but it did you know, catch my, you know, it triggered my different from the Raimi trilogy meter. I did think that some of the technology that Peter had was kind of cool. Like, I kind of wish, like I said, you know, I think in my mind, what the best kind of thing to do would have been like to have, you know, one standalone Spider-Man film where, you know, one standalone Tom Holland film where, you know, maybe he doesn't really have all the weird gadgets and whatnot that he had in this one. Maybe like one little robot thing, kind of, you know, because since he's all this super cool scientist that can make stuff. And then like in the later movies, kind of introduce some more gadgets and whatnot that Stark gives him. But I thought the weird Carrion AI was kind of neat. Kind of little, you know, a little computer to guide him around and whatnot. I just remembered one part that I quite enjoyed was when Ned basically kind of saves the day by basically using one of Peter's web shooters. But that was a kind of a very fun moment. That you know, I've generally kind of been an organic webbing apologist, but, you know, stuff like that does kind of justify, you know, make, you know, actual mechanical web shooters also pretty cool. I wish, from what I can remember, I don't think that they really ever had like a nice like sequence of Peter just swinging, you know, like, especially in the Raimi movies, and I'm pretty sure even in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, you know, there was always there would always be little bits of, Peter actually just swinging through the buildings, and especially in the Raimi movies, there's always that final swing of just Peter looking, seeing Spider-Man majestically swinging through the buildings and whatnot. But I don't really think you ever really saw that here, which I thought was a bit unfortunate. But I did quite enjoy, actually, the whole dynamic of going to Washington. I think I was kind of vaguely aware that this happened. A lot of the movie takes place in Washington, D.C., where there aren't all those skyscrapers, and so Peter couldn't really rely on being able to swing as much, which I thought was kind of cool. It reminded me of, like, in the video games, like in the Ultimate Spider-Man video game, like when you go to Queens and you basically have to rely on your double jump, which is always kind of cool, kind of fun. I don't think I mentioned it yet, but Stan Lee, I thought Stan Lee had a nice little cameo, being the guy yelling at Peter from the window or whatever, or one of the guys. And speaking of cameos, I also enjoyed Donald Glover's cameo as the guy that likes bread. I had actually seen that scene before. I probably seen it like linked somewhere. But it was pretty nice and gave me a nice little laugh, like that, like Donald Glover's "I like bread," and Ned, declaring that he likes porn were probably like the biggest laughs I got. But yeah, it was a nice little movie. I probably will still, consider, the Raimi trilogy kind of my default, my de facto favorite. But, it was a nice little film. And another thing, at first, honestly, I wasn't really the biggest fan of the suit. But I gotta say, I guess, like, the whole kind of moving the moving eyes kind of, I guess it kind of grew on me a little bit throughout. Like, it is a nice looking suit. Like, it does look kind of, I guess you could say, comic accurate. I like how they also did a little quick gag with like the web armpits or whatever. But yeah, it was a nice movie, and hopefully I'll try to see Far From Home in the near future and do a video on that as well. I'm aware that I think that might technically, quote unquote, require that you see even more Marvel movies, but I'll probably just go into it, honestly, the way I am now, and just kind of infer, whatever information. Like I said, I already do know a lot about the MCU and, a lot of the big plot points, snap, and whatnot. But we'll get there when we get there. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. I don't really want to promise anything, but I do think about trying to get back to making videos again. But I find that oftentimes when I finally do get a chance to make videos, I'm just too tired to really do anything and whatnot. But hopefully one of these days I can get back to it and whatnot, because I do really respect everyone that's respect and appreciate everyone that's kind of stuck with me all these years after all this time. But till next time, that's been a little mini review type thing of Spider-Man Homecoming. Till next time, liquid out.